Hi, and welcome to another episode of Tabooma Talks. Last week, once again, we saw 3 blowouts and 2 nail-biters. Marcus squeaked out a win by 4 points thanks to his kicker and defense, but in the process, he lost Derek Carr to a fractured back only for some time, but even more unfortunately for his opponent, Casey, he lost the fantasy matchup, and he lost Dalvin Cook for the entire year to a torn ACL. So I want to throw my condolences to Casey. It's a really tough start to the season, and I hope things turn around for you. Not that much, of course, but a slight turn would be good for you. Kyle also squeaked out a 2-point W over Gary this week, and it was off the back of his guy, Cam Newton. Cam threw for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, ran for over 40 yards and a touchdown, and he also dragged a female reporter for asking him a question about routes later in the week. So Cam had quite the week. Overall, the Kurt Warner division went 4-1 last week against the Hines Ward division, with the lone loss coming from your friendly neighborhood rapists. We also saw 1 trade last week between Christian and Casey. Here we can see Christian dealt Jordan Howard and Alshon Jeffrey for AJ Green. I personally think I like this trade a little bit more for Casey. I think Jordan Howard is possibly the best player in the deal, so I guess we'll see how it goes, and I personally like this for Casey going forward. With that being said, let's get down to some pick'ems. So with our first fantasy matchup of this current week, we have the McAfrican Americans versus yours truly, the Platonic Rapists. I'm going to win this week. Our next matchup between Papa Guinness and Mouse Rat. Now, really what I'm seeing here is I like the Deshaun Watson pickup. People are talking about him being the next GOAT or, whatever. I think he's really good, and I like the way he's playing. But I think what's really telling here is I just don't see a lot of touchdown potential outside of Jameis Winston on Mike's team. I don't see it. I don't see where he's getting. I don't see who's scoring this week. So I'm going to go with Justin for the win. Our third matchup of this week, Super Mariota versus Threat Level Midnight. It's not like close, I would say. I think Michael has a considerable amount of star power over Casey, and I also think Adam Vinatieri has a nice game against San Francisco. So, it pains me to say it, but I think I'm going to go with Michael in this matchup. And honestly, I'm sorry again, Casey, because if I'm right, you're 0-5, so that sucks. Our fourth matchup and a possible game of the week. I decided against it, but it's a pretty marquee matchup, players and all. Before Gronk was ruled out for tonight, I thought it was even closer. But especially now that Gronk is out, I'm going to have to go with Christian this week. I thought Gary had a chance, but really my gut was just saying Christian. So our final matchup of this week and our game of the week. Serial decleaters versus tight ends turn me on. Dave versus Marcus. Father versus son. A historically known matchup in our Tabooma 2 league. We've seen it many times over the years, and they've each had their fair share of wins. But this year, Marcus has decided to start Derek Carr, who has fractured his back recently. And while it is risky, I remember Marcus talking about him in the draft, saying he was a QB1 and he would take him first. And I just got that ringing in my head, and I don't know. Really, these matchups are super close, all in all. And these players aren't that good for a game of the week. But I think Eli might sling against the Chargers. So I'm going to go with Dave for the win. Now, before I end the show today, I decided to save my side topic for the end of the after pick'ems. Sorry. We all know Dave lost to Mike last week, but he also took a stand, quite literally, saying, "By God, I am not going to take a knee." Dave joined Mike in the stand for the flag group, that has joined in our fantasy league. I think all the protests and protests about protests is kind of getting old, but I believe it to be foolish to not recognize the racial inequalities and injustices that are occurring in America today. I don't want to get more political than we really already have. I'd like to keep this mostly fantasy. So with that being said, I'd like to end the show there. And I'd also like to end the show with a special exit song. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week for next episode of Tabooma Talks.